marketing, supply chain management, yeah, planning in general if you run production, for example. Okay, so generally problems that could be addressed with predictive analytics, there are sort of some classical applications, as I said, customer churn. It could be also about employees leaving. It could be about finding sales prospects. It could be finding what factors drive customer satisfaction. Could be fraud. Some newer applications is this whole Internet of Things that that some of you may have heard about. It's about sensor data. For example, you can use data to predict, for example, machines breaking down. So you can monitor instead of repairing when it goes wrong. You can sort of just predict when it will shut down and repair it before it does. We also use it a lot for dynamic pricing, which is about, for example, what you see when airlines do pricing, about hotels.com, booking.com. All that is sort of dynamically pricing things depending on demand and supply. You can also use it for predicting future demand, and that would be sort of supply chain, sales, forecasting, planning, all that stuff. You could use predictive analytics for that as well. Okay, and if you have any questions or comments, anything like that, feel free to add that to the chat, and Amalie will interrupt me if something is not clear. Okay, so this is more of a sort of general predictive analysis process. When we start on the left side, we create some data, or data are created somewhere. I'll show you where we get the data on LinkedIn. We will enrich the data to do some modeling that's about creating input information and also deciding what will be the response. Then we do the actual modeling. And you can benefit from statistical analysis in two ways in general. You can use it to get some insights into a problem. That's what we'll do today. That we can sort of find out what are the drivers behind traffic on a LinkedIn posting. So that would be the inform bubble here. You can actually also do some that's within the subworld is called embedded analytics, and that would mean that you took your statistical model and you schedule an update of it and you put it into an application. That could be, for example, if you did fraud prediction when you, I mean, right now in this whole Corona thing, there are some crime issues that the criminals will send fake, payments, requirement of payments to businesses. And if you had an online fraudulent predictor, you could sort of avoid paying out for that. It could also be quality control in production. It could be monitoring Internet things like that. So, but in general, either you do something with the analysis or you just inform yourself. When we look at that in a LinkedIn environment, it looks something like this. We will export the data from LinkedIn. We will enrich it in Excel. We will upload it to SAP Analytics Cloud. And SAP Analytics Cloud has, in the predictive world, two applications. It has Smart Insight, which is sort of a fairly easy application. It's easy to interpret. It's easy to look at the output, but it's also a dead end. So that would be strictly about informing yourself. That's not a bad thing as such. It just means that it creates what it creates, and that's pretty much what you can do. SAP Analytics Cloud also offers predictive scenario. The statistical output is more advanced there, but you can also export the data that you have created and put a model into production. And we'll look at both solutions in this case, so I can show you how that works. Okay, so now we go to the demo. Here we'll focus on clicks. So that means, yeah, and that's about, you know, when you make a post and people will click on it, which posts have given a lot of clicks and which give few clicks. And the process is exactly the same for impressions. Impressions is LinkedIn's sort of measure. If a post stands still long enough, it will count as an impression. But click is really about you press the button. Let's see here. Okay, somebody's come up on the chat. Amelia, can you look into that?
Yeah. So an impression means that, you know, when you're scrolling down through your LinkedIn feed. So an impression for LinkedIn
Could you just say the question, because I can't see the chat?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So the first question is, what is impressions?
Okay.
And impressions is when you're scrolling down in your LinkedIn feed, and you stop, and you have to at least stop and look at the particular post for 3 seconds. That counts as an impression. Clicks is just any kind of interaction with the post. So isn't that right, Kenneth? So you can basically, if you click on a link in the post, if you react to the post, so that's kind of like your interaction, so to speak, with the LinkedIn post.
Exactly. So here we have, for example, this is a post that comes into my feed about a guy who's bachelor in, can you see the screen? Can you see the LinkedIn screen?
Yes,
okay,
people can see it.
Okay, so if I'm just standing here on Daniel's posting, and if this stands still, then this would count as an impression. If I press anything on this post, it will count as a click. That's sort of the difference. In this case, they haven't really provided a link, so this is just you know, for them showing pictures of themselves. So there's no sort of jump to something else. But just to show you how you will create the data, this is the InnoLogic admin view. So I would go into here and look at updates. Updates are all the postings that we do. And then I would press export up here. And it asks me, so for how long would you like to export these? So let's just say I want them for the last 12 months. And then I'll press export. And then they will create the file. And I can just open it here. It's not a big file. It's not that we've been like that hugely productive as such, but still there are maybe 100 posts or something. It will both give me some aggregate information, and this is really the detailed information that is the most interesting stuff to me. These are the texts of each of the posts that we've done. And if we go out to the right, it will show us some more technical information, but it will also show us, for example, who made the post, when was it created, who was the audience, how many impressions did we get, how many video views did we get, and clicks, and that's what we try to predict here. We also have some information about, for example, likes, comments, shares, follows, and what LinkedIn calculates also, and that's the engagement rate. So that would be the first step. This is just exporting the data from LinkedIn and into Excel. The next step is the enrichment of the data. So this would look something like this. You can see these would be the original postings. And you can see I have named the sheet input SAC. So that means that will be my input data set, the data set that I would upload to SAP Analytics Cloud. So just going through the different parameters that we've created here, we have kept the posted by, impressions, clicks, likes, comments, shares. We have made a calculation of,
There is one question.
Yeah.
And it says, is the analytics export only available for company pages or also for individuals?
That's a good question. I've only come across it on the business pages, but I would assume that you could export it because I know that a lot of people actually use their personal account to do content marketing, for example. Like if you're a smaller business, you would use your personal profile to show off what you have done or how you're connected and things like that. So if you don't have a business page, you would do it from there. Actually, I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure that that it's only available from a business account. So I think if people want to use their personal account to do business, then they would make like a business account besides their own personal LinkedIn account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, what we introduce here, and this is just about the method in general. This can be done for any text. I mean, if you want to do it on Facebook postings, or you want to do it on Twitter, or whatever you want, the method is exactly the same. But I think the ease of the export, I mean, it's very easy on LinkedIn. I'm not familiar with Facebook. We don't really do a lot of marketing on Facebook. But if you can export the content as easily as you can here, then you can do it. Otherwise, it's really just manually cutting and pasting from the postings into a spreadsheet, and remember putting in a date and how many clicks was on it, and then you can build something like this. But of course, it's more convenient if you can export it as a full data set.
Was that a satisfying answer for you, Alan? Great, awesome.
Okay,
please continue.
Yeah. So these are some, and this is all hypothesis driven. So this was us just talking about which factors could have an influence on whether people click on a posting, or they follow impressions, or create impressions. So this one is about, is there a question mark in the text? Does that have any influence? Is there an exclamation point in the text? Do we mention any sort of analysis, SAP tools or tools in general in the text? Do we mention people, customer individuals? It could be that if you mention an individual that works with the customer, maybe that activates their network. This is about, I think this is the same just for InnoLogic people, yeah. So let's just move on here. It could be if we mention a partner, for example, we are a SAP partner, so if we mention SAP, does that mean anything? And also the characteristics, I can see here, this is in Danish, so I'll just translate. Networking is more about, a posting that is about more, I mean, a mix between, we also have, this means that it's strictly like technical, professional, faglig in Danish, but yeah, technical posting about a tool or analysis that we've done. And we also have some social postings, and network is sort of in between. And the payoff, we've called it payoff here, and that means, is it a picture? Do we just connect to a link? Is this a sign up for something, or a suggestion for a sign up? Is it, I mean, egen produktion means own production, and that is just us creating some new content or some sort of knowledge leadership that you can read through, and maybe that has an effect on whether people think it's interesting or not. Weekday, year, quarter, number of days since last posting. We also have a leaks calculation, so that's about how hard the post is to read. And we also do sentiment analysis. Let me just demonstrate sentiment analysis for you. For those who haven't seen it before, we just need an English post here. We can take this one. So that would mean that we go, let's see if I can see it. Here we go. Yeah. Okay, so this is the Microsoft API for text analysis. So we just put in this and we analyze, and it will in a second come up with a sort of a sentiment analysis. And you can see here that it comes up with 100% positive, which it was. This was a presentation we did in January in the SAP Center, and we thank the SAP Center for hosting us, and it has all sorts of positive words. So it's all positive, and it will come up positive, neutral, and negative. Yeah. So this is about, now we've done with the input variable. So now we will upload this. This is the front end for SAP Analytics Cloud. Now we're moving into the data creation on SAP Analytics Cloud, and also start running the modeling. So first off, I will create a model. This means a data model.
Can you make it full screen? So you can see the top of the browser, just like extend it a little bit?
I'm not sure. Can I do that?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how I can do that. It could be
If
somebody
11.
knows. If there's somebody on the presentation who knows, then I mean, please, if you know how I can remove the top, then that would be great.
Okay, try F11. Have you tried that?
Nope. Nope, this is not it.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, but in this case, I would import a file from the computer. I would select the source file here. It just needs to know about the position of my file here. So this is it. And it will ask me which sheet do you want to include. I will use the input SAC, and I will import it. Yeah. So now you see we have imported the data set with all the different. I can, if I wanted to, I could change the interpretation of the values up here. I don't really want to spend my time doing that right now, so I'll just create the model. So I'll create it, and I'll say here in logic updates webinar March 26th. Okay, so now I've created a data model, and that is really all I need to do right now, because now I can start creating a story in this case. This is about just the framework of how you do statistical analysis in SAP Analytics Cloud. It has two applications. It has the predictive scenario, which sits here in the front end, and on the story we have a different one. This one is about smart discovery. I think I put smart insights in the sample here, but it's called smart discovery. And there you can see this is the model. So I will, and then we'll come up here and say, run a smart discovery. And it's loading the model as we're looking at it. So now it says, I want to know more about something. And that's going back to the statistics. We want to know more about clicks. And then we open the advanced options, because this means that there are some information that we can include and exclude. I want to exclude update number and impressions. And impressions, this is just about the modeling is very correlated with the clicks, of course, and we want to really understand what drives the clicks. Let's see here if I want to exclude anything there.
I think we figured out how to make it the full screen thanks to some great inputs from the participants.
Yeah.
So just go to the three buttons in the Chrome browser. No, just right below. Yeah, the one you were at before, right next to it, the three little buttons.
Yeah.
And then the zoom option, you see that little frame outside of the zoom options? Yeah, try and click that. Yeah, try. Yay!
Oh, well
Thank
done.
you for your help, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So yeah, I'll just exclude posted by, because this is about who did the post. I don't want to include that. So I'll just press OK, and now we're ready to run the model. And then it says up here, we're building a story. Smart Discovery uses machine learning to generate a story based on your data. This is pretty much what SAP will tell you about the method. It creates a response, and it has some input, and now it's ready to build the story. It can just take a minute here. And what it will create is sort of a front end that is fixed. I mean, it is interactive. We can go and look at the different elements here. But now it says here, I have completed Smart Discovery, but this would be the design of Smart Discovery. Okay, so this comes up with some different information. I really think the most interesting part is here about key influencers. So this is about what is the most important thing for this. And it says, and I don't think that is really that sort of surprising, but it still means that the interaction with the post is what really drives as most important drivers for the traffic. So likes, comments, those are sort of the most important factors for driving traffic. And I don't think that is as much the postings as by themselves, but it's about that you sort of plug into the LinkedIn algorithm, that it will give you a nicer position in feeds across the different postings if you have a lot of likes or a lot of comments. Actually, if I can just switch over here to, I can't do that here. I would have to go back to, oh, so now how do I get back to the other thing? Okay, so I'll just open a new browser. So this is just about going back to the business page. So here we are. So in this case, if you see here, this is the posting. If you press here, it will come up and say notify employees of post. So I think this is really LinkedIn's way of saying drive more traffic to your posting by asking your employees to interact with the posts so you get more reach. So I think LinkedIn has noticed this effect as well. Yeah, so these are the comments. Partner mention has an influence. The blue boxes here are about the three most important factors. Those factors are shown here. So let's see if partner mention, what really happens there. It says here, yes, if you mention the partner or any partners, you will get more traffic and traction by doing that. So let's see down here, if we mention, in this case, it says partner people. With the gray boxes, it will load sort of this inside box, and we can see picture drives most postings, and the other stuff, our own production, things like that, will drive lower traffic. Payoff is really about, let's see here. Where did my box go now? Ah, yeah, I have to press this. No, it was the payoff that I just showed you. Okay, shares is also a way of people interacting here. So this is just says, if you have any shares, you will drive more traffic. It also sounds natural.
Kenneth, we have, excuse me, we have another question.
Yeah.
And it is the analytics based on decision tree?
That's sort of, I mean, those are both the pros and cons of the solution. You don't get a lot of information about what is really, what method it's based on. I have asked SAP, and I'll be happy to ask them again, but this is really what it comes off the box. And the main part of the SAP documentation of all this is mainly about how you do it and not as much about what really happens inside the engine. So I'm actually not really sure. And the same goes for the predictive scenario. We only get told that it's about machine learning. That's all that it tells us. And I know it's I will look into, can we get some more information about, because I think for most statisticians, it doesn't really feel safe just to assume that the tool does something that is correct. They would like to know about, is it decision trees, is it a neural network, what really goes on. I don't think this is a neural network, but it could be a decision tree. But most statisticians would like to know what is really the method that goes on in here. Yeah, so I will ask Sam about that.
Okay, is that an okay answer for you, Henrik? Great. All right then, carry on.
Yeah, so this is just the weekday. It just says Monday and Thursday are the best days to post things. But actually it means pretty much Thursday and every other day. So this was the Smart Insight. This is really all it has some other, yeah, I just need to mention the simulation. That is actually pretty fun. So the simulation is sort of a scorecard where you can calculate the predicted number of clicks. If you say, okay, let's say that I want to mention a partner here, then you can say, I will mention a partner. I will also ensure that I have 4 comments, for example. It doesn't really matter what we do. And then we press simulate, and it will recalculate the expected number of clicks you'd get up here. So you can really sort of frame the content of this posting by saying, how can we really drive more clicks? And you can get that input from this simulator. So I think this is really nice. This is just a sort of visual representation of how you can change it and how you can drive the different factors. It could be that you say, well, should we wait until Monday? Should we do Thursday? Blah blah blah. And you can see here it will yeah, didn't really do much, but yeah, that's those are sort of the principles. So let's go over to predictive scenario. But first off, in this, I have to create a data set because predictive scenario only runs on data sets while the smart discovery runs on models. So I have to sort of import this as a data set. So I put like this, data set. Yeah, so now it says, now I've created the data set. So now I can start creating this predictive scenario. And here it comes up with the 3 methods that are available to you, as I described in the introduction. You have a classification problem, you have a time series problem, and you have a regression problem. And again, just to sort of pre-answer the question that I'm sure will come in a minute, this is really all that we are informed. This could be a decision tree, it could be a logistical regression, it could be a machine learning thing. We're not really informed about that. SAP has taken the decision of saying, well, this is really what will drive. We think that this is the right way to do it. So webinar scenario. So now we've saved it. And again, it comes up with a similar interface as the thing you saw before. Let's see here. Where is the data set? I think this was it. So we want to predict the number of clicks. And again, it says I just can exclude some data here. I exclude update number and impressions and posted by. Everything else we just leave as it is. And we press OK and we train it. And again, it will just run. I can't really control much, but it will give me an output in a minute. Here we go. Yeah, I didn't show on the other screen before, but in this case, it shows me the quality of the prediction, and it says here that this is a at 84 level of precision, so it looks like it's a pretty good model. In the smart discovery, it will tell me on a scale of 1 to 5, is this a good model or isn't it a good model? So it will come up here with the influencer description again. You see likes, comments, shares come up as the most important factors. Days since the last posting, payoff, what is sort of the character of the presentation. In this case, it doesn't come up with, I mean, this is a different statistical algorithm that runs here. So it comes up with some different factors that come up in this case. And again, I can dive into the contribution. So now I can sort of interact with it a little bit more. So these will be the likes, comments, shares, days since last posting, payoff, what is the type of posting, did we mention any logic people, and what is the sentiment? You remember the positive, negative, neutral sentiment based on the words that I used. And you would interact with something like this. Let's look at the sentiment. Yeah, and the sentiment says if it's positive, that means that you will get more clicks than if it's anything other than positive. I don't think we've written anything directly negative. So, but we have some neutral postings. Days since the last posting is also pretty interesting, because this says that if we posted just yesterday or the day before, or if we posted a long time ago, that will be negative for the clicks. So that means that, but if we post 3 to 5 days between postings, then that would make sense. I mean, I think this is more sort of general. I'm not sure that if it says that if you post the same day, it looks like a little bit high. It could be that people are just used to it. So, but how come we have this difference between 0 and 1 to 2 days? Yeah, and you can dive into that if you want to. Yeah, let's just look at the character of the posting. You see here. So this merely means that these are the professional postings. So these are all about the technicalities of SAP and things like that. That actually looks like that drives off clicks. The interesting part is that our assumption from a sort of business development perspective, from a sales perspective, is that it's actually the professional postings that end up converting sales. But we're still in the process of understanding that. From sort of a branding perspective, the social postings and the networking postings work the best for us. Yeah. So this was pretty much the framework for SAP Analytics Cloud. I'll just jump back and just conclude some things. But if there are any questions at this point, then please feel free to ask them. And then maybe just interrupt me at any time.
Don't worry, I will.
Let's see, how do we get back to the presentation here? Here we are. Okay, Amelia, can you still see the presentation?
Yes, it's
okay.
Fine. We have a question.
Yeah.
It says how to show output in story.
Yeah. So I mean, I didn't show you here, but Smart Discovery actually is a story. So you can save that directly and it will become a story right away. So that would be, if you're familiar with stories, if you used SAC before, it is a story. That's why it's built on a model, because you build a story on a model. But it's fixed in the design. But you can save it as a story directly. For the predictive scenario, that is a bit that's a bit different. But what I can just show you here is, I forgot to show you here, but you can actually here. Sorry, I wanted to press the wrong button here. I wanted to push this apply predictive model. We just needed to finish here. So here we are. So we apply a predictive model, and this means that in this case, I can say, let me produce an output. So this is what I mean by operationalizing the data model. So I would say here in a logic dataset output. So this actually comes out after the sort of scoring of it. So we can, let's just say we include the update number as a key, and we include some different information about when it was applied, when it was trained, and we come up with some information about a site bin outline. This is all just statistical stuff, and the predicted value, that's probably the most interesting one. But then we would create a new data set, and you could include that in your data model somewhere, and then display it as a story. I think that would be how I would do it. So let's just go out and see here if we browse a file. Let's see here, dataset output. There you can see that these are the values that I just exported. This is the update number. These are the clicks. So you can sort of compare what are the clicks here with the predicted value, and do we consider this an outlier or not? There are a few outliers here and there, but I think that you can then sort of move this into a data model. You can also extend it to some other underlying, for example, business warehouses and things like that, and use it there. Yeah, so that would really be about how you could operationalize the model. I hope that that sort of answers it.
Yeah, was that a satisfying answer for you?
Okay, so
We hope.
yeah, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so we use this as a sort of framework for ourselves to think about how could we increase traffic on our postings. So the direct conclusions for this was that we started by more formally ask internally, please like and comment and share the posts that we produce. And as I just showed you, LinkedIn prepared for this, but you can just notify your employees about a posting. And we think more about how often do we post. So we sort of post on a regular basis, but also that sometimes they can go a few days in between. We can see that for the clicks and for the traffic in general, having a social angle to this, a community element in it, increases traffic. So we try to do that also in the strictly professional postings. And we've also started just sharing social content, and that's actually some of the most popular. That doesn't drive business as such, but it drives brand and message awareness. I don't know if you can see above it, I have an output from a firm called Ibaca, which has interviewed organizations about how their organization aims to derive value from content marketing. And you can see brand and message awareness and educate is sort of the top scorers, while increasing revenue is a bit lower. I think for us, the ambition is that we can connect traffic here into what ends up being a sale. I'm not sure we can do it on this because this is still very sort of mass marketing driven. We don't actually know who the individuals are who interacted unless they share or comment or like our postings. Yeah, but also just some other things we've done, that we actually not just share links, but we both share thought leadership and also share people. So we show faces and individuals and names of the employees. And next steps you could take, or that we will take, is that all the time new ideas about how you write comes up. Just in the last few days, I've come across some ideas that says that fear of missing out is actually a big driver of you looking into something. So if you, in your posting, write something as, do you also want to join this? Or you sort of give the signal that you can miss out from the herd, then that would increase traffic. I think that could be interesting to look into, does that really work for us? I've also heard about what I call here you versus me, the more often you mention the customer compared to the fewer times you mention yourself, that will also be drive postings to be more popular than if you just only talk about yourself. Text formatting, bold versus italic, could also drive traffic, and I think we should test that. And as I said, we really want to understand how do we go from this level to marketing branding level all the way down to sales. So what's in it for you? This is just our reality. So this is what we have done with this. This is what we have understood about LinkedIn postings. And as I see it, you are sort of two groups in this webinar. Either you're passionate about LinkedIn or you're passionate about SAP Analytics Cloud. If you want to know more about LinkedIn, get in touch with us. We could talk about if we could look into your postings and understand what drives your traffic. It could be the same factors, it could be some different factors, but the framework will allow you to understand what factors are sort of specific for you and true for you, and you could come up with your own actions. If you have SAP Analytics Cloud, but you're not using Predictive yet, again, reach out to us, get in touch, and let's discuss a use case. The use case is, in my view at least, necessary for this to be successful. You have to have some sort of interesting use case that you can that people in your organization will be passionate about and will be interested in the result of. So it has to create some business value, and then the tool doesn't really, I mean, that comes in secondary. Our view on SAP Analytics Cloud is really that it's easy to get started. And yeah, again, I need to mention predictive components come out of the standard SAC package. You don't have to sort of increase your package to have access to the predictive components. Yeah, and also just to comment on sort of the methods lying in here, there are not, compared to other statistical tools, there are not that many degrees of freedom in this. You get what SAP will offer you, but it's really user-friendly. All the output is very graphical, and it's easy to interact with and work with. I think if you wanted to truly embed things, or you want to do something, for example, like Netflix or Google does, if you want, yeah, image analysis it cannot do, then you need to use something else. But to get started and sort of get a validating of, do we have a case or do we not have a case, and are you going to talk about this to non-statisticians, I think the output is really helpful, because normally you only get sort of parameter estimates and confusion matrices, and this is easier to understand these graphs. Okay, I think we have some time for some questions. We have 5 minutes more. So do we have any questions from the participants?
Yeah, I'd just like to add something to what you're saying about kind of analyzing your own LinkedIn data, is that the advantage of doing it this way is that you're able to find out what is working for you and what your followers are interested in, because there's plenty of material out there that tells you some like generalizing facts about this, like do posts that are short, do posts that are long. There are there's plenty of materials, white papers, YouTube videos, blog posts, all of these things to tell you a bunch of information on what works on LinkedIn and social media in general. And that can be useful and it can be inspirational. But the issue with that, I find, because I work a lot with this social marketing, is that, I mean, it doesn't really tell you what is working for you and how your actual followers are responding. And of course, there are some tools that are available out there that are made to analyze these things. But I would say the disadvantages of those sometimes is that either they're really, really expensive, or you're not really able to, in the same way, set your own parameters for what you want to explore. I mean, in this case, as Kenneth explained to you, we have set some parameters that we find interesting because we want to see which days are the best posts, how long how complicated are these posts supposed to be in terms of the language that we use. These are just some of the parameters that we are interested in. So I'm just trying to say that kind of the advantage with this is that you get to set the parameters, and it is possible to make these parameters measurable and find out what is working for you. So the key here is, I think, is customization.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is all about, this is a sort of repeatable framework. You can include new information. You can test if things change over time. It could be that, let's say in a year, when everybody has found out about the little button on the LinkedIn that says notify your employees, and everybody does it, that's not really an advantage anymore. But you would know from this. Then you would say, okay, likes doesn't do it anymore. Now we have to have, or LinkedIn changes their algorithm, so the presentation order will be different. You can just go back to this framework and sort of repeatedly understand what happens right now. If you see a decrease in your traffic, you can find explanation here, new inspiration.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's sort of the idea.
Exactly, and you're able to kind of add new parameters. Just because you have a set parameters doesn't mean you're stuck in those. I mean, you can kind of, what you just said, you can customize it however you want.
Yeah.
So we have a follow-up question that I waited with a little because I knew that we were right at the end.
Yeah.
So it's a follow-up question from how to show output in story. And the follow-up question is, can output dataset file be able to write back to SAP BV? Does that make sense?
I hope here that that Rasmus is with us.
Yes, let's find him.
Is he here?
Yes, I think so. I have put him
here
on.
He is.
Now he just needs to like.
Now Rasmus needs to unmute.
There we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello,
Rasmus.
So what you're asking for is if it's possible to load back your results from your statistical analysis, right? To BW, SAP BW.
I think that was the question.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay,
this
perfect.
is.
As of now, there are some standard, you can say, write back methods. Unfortunately, right now there's no standard way to, or there is a standard way, but it's through flat file, through file server. If you are not on BW for HANA, and I guess most of you are not on BW for HANA, you're on probably at 7.5. Maybe on a HANA database, but as of now, you need to go through flat files to load it back to your BW. But if you have followed our LinkedIn posts, you would see that we did a request to SAP to put this on their roadmap. It actually did so. I believe for the next support package for BW, this you can say extractor for getting data back into BW will be a part of their support package. So we would not have to go through flat files.
I think, I mean, just following up on this, we'll just send out, somebody asked initially, will we get the slides for this? And you will. I think we'll share the link with the postings that we made around this this enhancement, so you can see that that the development is on the way, and you can try to dive into if this will be something that could help you. I think now we're probably, we're just 1 minute over time, so let's close down now.
Yes, we will share the recording.
Yeah. So just so thank you everybody for participating. We will share the slides. We'll share a recording. I think some people had a problem getting into this webinar. We will share the file with them as well, and we will follow up and send you the slides and everything else. So thank you so much for participating. Thank you for the questions. And talk to you soon.
Yes. Bye. Goodbye.